It is time for a controller showdown. Today we are doing the Dualsense Edge Controller against the Besavior controller. Which one is best? Which one should you look at getting? We're going to talk about it. Hello and welcome back to Gears and Tech. As you heard in the intro video, we're talking about the brand new PlayStation 5 Dualsense Edge Controller, and we're putting it up against the still pretty brand new Besavior controller from Beloader. Now before I go too far, you're going to see that I just added another controller here, and that's because there's a small disclaimer that I need to add here, because I do have the regular Besavior controller. This came direct from the Besavior team. It has no modifications at all. I also have this controller, which is a standard PlayStation 5 DualSense controller, but it's been modded with the Besavior backpack add-on. But also I've added adjustable height thumbsticks from the Extreme Rate kit and clicky triggers from the Extreme Rate kit. So that may affect how I feel about the controller, because my daily driver up until recently was this blue Besavior controller with the adjustable height thumbsticks, and that's because I'm used to running a stick offset and clicky triggers, and I just couldn't live without having those features, which the standard Besavior controller does not have. Now in a different video, I showed you an easy, non-invasive way to add trigger stops to your controller, as well as adjustable height thumbsticks if that is something that you need. So you could definitely check out that video if you decide to go this way. So I'm gonna do my best to present this in a way where you can kind of see the pros of one and the pros of other, but at the end of this video, I am gonna pick a controller. I am going to tell you which controller I would use as my daily driver from today forward if I could not use the other controller anymore. Also, I've done a full unboxing and final thoughts and impressions on this controller. I've been using it for the last couple of weeks now. I've formed my opinion on this controller. I have a lot of feelings and thoughts about different functionality of this controller, as well as I've spent a ton of time daily driving the Besavior controller. So I have experience using both controllers and trying out all of those features. So I definitely feel like my opinion could help you guys decide which controller to get. Before we get too far into this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below. If you've seen some of our content already and have not subscribed, we want you to join our community. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's get back to the video. Now, before we get all the way in, let's talk about the price. So this controller right here sells for about $200 US. The Besavior controller without the mods and all that, just the controller that you buy from Besavior, is currently selling for about $169. Okay, so that's gonna be important because the price will play a bit of a factor into which one that you're gonna buy. But it's only about $30 difference in price, so it's not like it's gonna make or break you. It's not like we're talking about a lot of difference in price. So let's start off with just design and style, not function. We'll get into function after. So design and style. So the DualSense Edge controller has a very distinct style and design to it. It is familiar. It feels the same as a DualSense when it's in your hand, and it slides right in. Everything is exactly where you think it should be. The back button implementation is amazing. The fact that you can adjust it to suit the style that you're looking for is amazing. The adjustable height thumbsticks feel great. The inclusion of little details like the texturing on the R2 and L2 button is surprising, but it actually feels great in your hand as well. So there's a lot of little subtle design cues that are really great about this controller. It's got a lot of weight to it and it feels very premium. It's $200. It feels like a premium $200 controller. Now when we go over to the Besavior controller, the Besavior controller is basically a regular PlayStation 5 controller. It starts life as a PlayStation 5 controller. The back shell is replaced and it includes this little backpack, which adds the rear back buttons onto the controller. So as far as how it feels in your hand, it feels like your regular PlayStation 5 controller. But the implementation of the buttons are also very good. So when you put it in your hand, the buttons just fit right where they should. You're able to hit all 4 buttons easily, and have full control. You have full programming. The inclusion of the OLED screen is great, and it just feels, I wouldn't say premium, it feels familiar. It's a PlayStation 5 controller, and if you've used a PlayStation 5 controller, this feels exactly the same. It just adds back buttons that feel familiar. They feel good. It feels like a solid, good implementation. When I consider that against some of the other offerings with like Scuff or AIM, they're garbage compared to this. This is an actual amazing implementation of an excellent controller design. So both of them, in my opinion, have excellent design and feel and quality. But I would give the Dualsense Edge a little bit of a bump up just because it feels a little more premium. Just with the touchpad on the top feels better, the weight feels better, the buttons with the black and white offset, it just feels better. Okay, and maybe it's just because I'm used to this. I've been using it for the last couple of years, but this feels new and fresh and solid. Now let's talk about the functionality. You probably already know all the features of the Dualsense Edge controller, but I'm gonna just glance over them really quickly, okay? So obviously we have the back buttons. We've talked about that already. They are removable, and then you can put different ones in there if you don't like this. They've got a bumper style that you can use. The click rate is amazing. It feels so good. It feels great. We've got the trigger stops on the back here. So if I flip this switch up, then that makes it to be a regular Dualsense Edge controller type feel. And if I flip it the other way, it adds a trigger stop. So I have clicky triggers or clicky trigger effect for when you're playing those first-person shooter games and that sort of thing. The ability to swap between the two in one controller is awesome. It's straight up awesome. Okay. Also, it has the removable thumbstick modules, which we've demonstrated that in other videos. I think I can do it here. You got to have a bit of a fingernail. There we go. So that pops off, and then that lifts up, and then the module comes out. I love how the module comes out. It's a very smart implementation, and it would be awesome to see a Besavior Dualsense Edge mod. I don't think that'll ever come, but it would be kind of cool to see that. And then this just clicks back on, just like that. Very, very solid implementation, and that is definitely a leg up that nobody else offers. Dualsense Edge is the only one that offers replaceable thumbsticks, and these thumbsticks can be bought separately. It's only 20 bucks. So it's quite cheap when you consider once you get stick drift or you wear out your sticks, 20 bucks, you can have a pro controller ready to go again. When we talk about the Besavior controller, it has 4 programmable back buttons, which is a bit of a jump away from what Sony's offering. So if you need more than 2 buttons, this might be the controller that you're looking for, because all 4 buttons are accessible, not like the Rise 4 kit where you got to put your fingers in weird positions to trigger the buttons. These ones are very easy to access. It turns out they're actually adjustable as well. They have a fair bit of throw, which was surprising, but you can actually dial that down a little bit if you're not afraid to open this up and then turn a little screw to adjust it. I haven't done that yet. These are lacking the adjustable triggers. Something that I have talked to the Besavior team about is add a little switch here for adjustable triggers and you have a game-changing controller. So this is where we start to kind of diverge as far as features, because some of you do not care about clicky triggers. Some of you just are good at quick tapping the buttons and you don't need a trigger stop to make it stop for you. If you're good at that, this controller is actually a very, very solid consideration, even though the Dualsense Edge feels so solid. So when we talk about features of the Dualsense Edge, I'm gonna say the features are a 9 out of 10, but I'm also gonna put the Besavior at a 9 out of 10 because it has more back buttons, so it beats the PlayStation for that. You can add trigger stops if you want to. I showed you ones that you can buy on Amazon that just click on here and then they are trigger stops, and they would do exactly the same thing as these ones for trigger stops. The thing they don't do is go on and off and on and off. So you kind of want to pick one or pick the other. This one falls short in the replaceable thumbstick, but I've had a few controllers over the years. I've never had stick drift on the PlayStation 5 controller yet, so I don't know how bad of an issue this truly is yet. Plus, I also talked to the Besavior team and I informed them of a way that they can use what they have here to offer a stick drift fix built into this controller. Now, they are rumored to be looking into how to implement that, but because of the way that they've attached their system to this board, they actually have the ability to include a stick drift fix. Hopefully that truly comes to light, because I think that would be very, very awesome, and that would kind of put this up over the edge. The other thing that this is lacking is adjustable height thumbsticks, which again, I showed you how to fix that with the, whatever they are, the stick-on thumbsticks. But as soon as you go for both of those options, you suddenly are at the same price as the Dualsense Edge. So it really comes down to, do you need 2 back buttons or do you need 4? If you need 2 back buttons, we're still kind of favoring the Dualsense Edge at this point. The next thing I want to talk about is the adjustable height thumbsticks. And this was big for me. So the adjustable height thumbstick on here, so I run offset. So this one's taller than this one. And that's because, again, I do first person shooters. So I'm gonna take this one off, I'm gonna put that right there. Then I'm gonna take this one off and I'll put that right there. Now, when you look at the height difference between these, this high thumbstick is significantly higher than this one. Going from a Dualsense controller with adjustable height thumbstick from Extreme Rate, or even my Victrix, which is hiding in the corner over here. It has the same, I'll take that off and I'll show you, has the same height tall thumbstick. If you have a Scuff controller with adjustable thumbsticks, they are this tall. So if you've been using any of those controllers, you are used to this height of a thumbstick. Going from this high of a thumbstick to this high, which is not high, it actually throws off your game enough that I was having to constantly readjust how I'm aiming in the game, and I lost a lot of 1v1 battles because this stick is not tall enough. So the fix for that obviously is to just get better and practice. But at this point, I don't know if I want to, because these also have mushroom top sticks. And if you're going for the tall stick, you have to go for the mushroom top. And I'm quite used to this concave style, which using this extendable stick keeps the concave style. So I'm used to this style, and again, I don't know if I want to get used to this. The tip of my thumb, actually, because of the work I do, my thumbs get quite sensitive, and having the ball of my thumb on this stick actually creates a pressure point that becomes painful for me, whereas when I use this, it's less painful. So this becomes a preference thing. But for me, I'm going to say I prefer the Dualsense option or the Dualsense with an Extreme Rate adjustable height thumbstick option. That's where my preference is. And the final decider here, the big one, the battery. Okay, so it's no secret the battery life on your Dualsense Edge controller is smaller than the battery on your PlayStation 5 regular controller. So through testing, I've found that this battery lasts at least 5 hours. I usually only game for about 3.5 to 4 hours, but I did do some gaming for 5 hours. I still reported to have about half battery life. I have seen others do tests online, and they're saying that they're getting about 7 to 8 hours of battery life out of the Dualsense Edge. That's not bad. If you think about how long you game for, most of you probably aren't gaming for 8 hours. If you are, then you do have a 10-foot extension cord that can plug into this so that you can power it up and plug it and keep it going. But if you really must stay on battery power, this one's got the bigger battery. It's gonna last a lot longer. So for battery power, this controller wins hands down. As great as the Dualsense is, this one has the longer battery life. Now let's throw it all in together and just make a decision. So now I need to pick one controller over the other, and I have to use that controller for the rest of my life, and I can't use the other one. It is so hard to decide. It's so hard, but I have to confess, last night as I was gaming, I lost enough 1v1 battles with the Dualsense Edge that I came back to my studio, I grabbed my Besavior controller, and I began gaming with this again, and it just felt good. It felt familiar. It felt like I was in control again. The whole time I was using the Dualsense Edge, I felt a little bit of annoyance. It was just a little bit annoying for me, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And as soon as I put this in, I felt like I was home again. I just felt like I could do what I wanted to do. The guy on the screen did exactly what I was asking him to do. And that was what I was looking for. It exactly what I needed for that game. So my personal preference is a modified Dualsense Edge controller with extreme rate thumbsticks and clicky triggers. But if you can't get that, the regular Dualsense Edge is still a fantastic controller. It's a $30 savings over the Dualsense Edge, and it comes with an extra bonus, which is this little USB port here, and it has built-in Bluetooth to where you can use it to pair up your other favorite controllers to your PlayStation 5 and play without any restrictions. So if you have a SCUF controller that you loved for your PlayStation 4, or you have an Xbox Elite controller that you loved, you can get a Besavior controller, pair your other controller with it, and use this as a gateway to your PlayStation 5. I didn't want to talk about that as a main feature in this video because obviously the DualSense Edge doesn't do that, so it's not fair to give it an advantage there. But if you're going to buy a controller anyway, this one adds extra features. Add to that the fact that you have 4 buttons. I've been using 3 buttons, so I've been using this one here and these 2 over here, and it's surprising how used to having 3 buttons I've gotten. And this one lacking that 3rd button has been a big deal for me. I find myself having to take my hands off of the thumbstick to push those other buttons, and it doesn't give you the competitive advantage quite the same as having 4 back buttons do. And that's it for me. That's where I'm at. I'm back to the extreme rate controller. Or am I? So this whole time through this whole video, potentially, sometimes you saw this guy hanging out in the corner over here. This is the Victrix BFG Pro. It has a unique design. It has tons of features, including 4 back buttons, including clicky triggers, including adjustable height thumbsticks. Is it better than the Besavior controller? I don't know. We need to find out. So this is the Controller Showdown series. There are more reviews where I put the Dualsense Edge controller straight up against this Victrix BFG Pro controller, where I put this Victrix BFG Pro straight up against the Besavior controller. Which is the best of the 3? In my opinion, this is the best 3 controllers you can get for the PlayStation 5 right now. Hands down. Some of you are watching and you're like, well, what about SCUF? No. What about AIM? No. What about Battle Beaver? If you're looking for a controller for your PlayStation 5 that's been modded to do more, it's one of these 3. You can't go wrong with any of the 3. But if you want to know which one is right for you, make sure you check out those other videos too. Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end of this video. We hope you enjoy the content in this video, and we'd love to have you come back. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And for those subscribers who are looking for that extra special thing that you can do to support this channel, consider joining our members group. That's where we're building this community, the Gears and Tech community, where we can all enjoy content together. You'll get special perks, which we'd love for you to check out by clicking the link down below. For those of you who are just happy to watch the video, that's okay too. You can check out some of our other content right over here, where we've got some previous videos that have already been uploaded and enjoyed by many of our viewers already. We do hope to see you again. This has been Gears and Tech. Have a great day.